hotel in Muscat. It was a journey of almost 15 hours, so the players will have a lighter session today, maybe just a little run later on this evening. They did travel business class though, so that probably lessens the blow a little bit. Not everybody got to travel business class. There was also a lengthy stopover in Dubai in the middle of the night, so it was really a logistical nightmare to get here. Although the one advantage is they actually get into town before the Omanis, who've had to travel all the way from Japan following that 3-0 loss in Saitama. During that stopover in the airport, I got the chance to catch up with Holger Ozic, who I don't know if it was the fact that he was sleep deprived or just genuinely relaxed. He was very calm. He's not always like this on the eve of big matches. We had a long chat actually. He told me that he wasn't happy with the result, losing against Denmark. He's almost developed an Australian kind of mentality. He said, I hate it. I really hate losing. And of course, he hasn't lost that many matches in his time here, but he said the important thing was the performance and what he got out of it. He said he did take a lot out of it, a couple of positional issues that he's ironed out, I guess, in the centre of defence and on the right side at right back and right midfield as well. He said there's no injury concerns. A couple of late arrivals into camp. We still don't know what will happen with Brett Holman. The word is that he probably won't join up with the squad, but a really confident Holger Ozic. He said that he knows that Japan and Australia are the two powers in this group, and they've just got to focus on what they need to do to get the result. The conditions, as you can see, are extreme. I mean, we got into the airport at 4 in the morning and it was more than 30 degrees then. I can tell you it's a lot hotter than that now. A big crowd, hopefully on hand on Friday night as well, as the Socceroos go looking for a measure of revenge. The last time they lost a competitive match was back here in November when they were really surprised by Oman 1-0. So all to play for on Friday night.
Scott McIntyre there in Muscat for the Socceroos match with Oman. Guys, we've assessed the performance against Denmark. How does Holger turn that performance into a successful one against Oman, given the fact we remember calling that match on radio, 1-0, the loss in November, Drilla, when the Omanis largely played on the counter-attack?
But they're very strong at home. They didn't concede a goal at home in the last qualification phase. Most of the goals that they did concede were away, and they were beaten quite considerably, 3-0 to Australia and 3-0 against Thailand. But for Australia, I think taking out of that Denmark game, the positives were they did create, like Foz showed or mentioned earlier, was a lot of chances, a lot of good chances. Alex Bross had 2 or 3. Harry had a good one. Bresciano, when he was coming through, had a few good shots as well, and he's just generally creating, and he's involved with everything good attacking-wise. But I think that's the main positive that we take into it. So I agree with Holger. I can see he's quite positive. Taking the Australian mentality that he's an angry man after a defeat, I think that's more the German, because they don't like losing either.
Now, but you mentioned the impact of Bresciano. In specific terms, Foz and Fran, what does he bring back to the Socceroos?
Yeah. Oh, well, I like the fact that he brings back control, he brings back composure on the ball, he brings back good distribution, he takes up really good positions on the field. Just a level of intelligence, the game intelligence he has on the field, that's something that you don't pick up very easily. You have to have that high level of intelligence to play in a league like the Italian league, because it's so tactically demanding, and that's what he brings to this team. And he takes up great positions, and I like the way he's still, even though he's playing deep, he arrives into goal-scoring positions. He can still time his run extremely well, and he still gives us a goal threat, even though he's playing a bit deeper these days.
He can play a forward ball better than anyone else we've had. When you consider that he's a hero of 2006, and he played this game and he was by far and away our best, it sort of shows you where we're at. He's a phenomenal player. He can play forward first time, whereas most others take 2 or 3 touches, and particularly under the pressure and defensive pressure or pressure of these big games. And the other thing he gives us is the ability to play out much better. He's come into midfield, and you could see, particularly in the second half, that even under their pressure, our defenders all of a sudden are happy to just give him a little ball and bounce it back. Yeah. And then he moves and just give it to him again, right? Now, they won't do that to the others. And that just, that's unconscious usually from most of the players, but what it means is they immediately feel comfortable with him. They know, I give you the ball, you're not going to lose it. At worst, you'll turn and get a foul. So they have total confidence in him, and that totally changes all of our build-up. And I think when you have a young guy like Sporanovic, who had some lapses in concentration, To have someone like Bresh in front of him there is really a huge boost.
And he scored some crucial goals in the Middle East in former World Cup qualifiers. What about the opponent, Socceroos' opponent, 3-0 losers in Saitama to Japan? They defended very ordinarily, but they're a totally different kettle of fish at home, aren't they?
Yeah, like I said earlier, it was away from home. They get beaten quite often. They get beaten by this scoreline, 3-0. Lost to Australia, lost to Thailand by the same scoreline. In this game, Japan had a number of opportunities. It could have been, quite a lot more if it wasn't for Hubsy in goal, who was absolutely outstanding. He saved quite a number of efforts. But when look how many players are back, but still they're able to get the shot off, and just too many players coming forward. So defensively, away from home, very poor.
I'll ask you this question because they haven't bedded down the partner for Lucas Neal, have they? It's not. Sporanovic has not bedded down that position, and that is a concern against the faster Gulf nations like Oman. Who do you expect to play alongside Lucas Neal?
I would prefer Sporanovic, only because I still think that, we're talking 2 years out to the World Cup. You've got to give the kid a go. You've got to give him an opportunity. You've got to give him the experience of playing in these high-pressure games, high-intensity games against the big teams like Japan. He plays in Japan, so he's used to these players. He knows these players, or certainly he knows that style of football. So I don't see any reason why. But I think he should be given the opportunity, because given the style of football we want to play, we want to be able to play out the back. He is a ball-playing defender, and I think that we need to give players like him the opportunity to play and to get the experience. 2
crucial games in a row, Foz. How different will the Oman test be as opposed to Japan at home for the Socceroos?
Well, it's fundamentally different. Firstly, because Oman, as you identified, they're going to be different at home to what they were away. The heat is going to be a huge factor. Now to come in from Europe, to walk in and only in, 4 or 5 days to be able to play in really searing heat, it's going to totally change it. I think that's why Holger had them, I'm assuming, had them so deep even in the first half. And whilst they didn't have their numbers right, they still, I think he was saying, listen, we're going to spend a lot of this game just letting them come to us. What I like about it is that Broski brings a speed to the attack now that we haven't had for, when was last time? Well, maybe Harry at his peak, right, when he was incredibly quick. Aside from that, we've played with Josh, all top players, don't get me wrong, but they all have different qualities. And what Broski brings is that ability to go quickly if Oman come out.
He gets into those opportunities a lot of times. Even at club level, when you saw him with Sydney FC, it's amazing how many times he gets into one-on-one situations like that because of his speed, coming from deep. So it's something that we haven't had in recent games.
I thought Harry Kewell was outstanding. He played very, very well. I thought he gave us something different, playing the link play, and also people playing off him laying the ball off on the edge of the box, giving other people the opportunity for goal-scoring chances. I thought, given the fact that he hasn't played for a while,
what about
he
Holman?
did very
Does
well.
Holman come back in now? Holman's coming back in, is that right? If Holman comes back in, that's going to fundamentally shift. I think Archie will probably make way.
Well, maybe
he starts on the left.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's going to be really interesting. So the Socceroos looking to get the next phase off to a flying start this Friday night, our time. There was yet another incredible night at Highmarsh last week as Adelaide United progressed to the quarterfinals of the Asian Champions League for the second time. Guys, the Reds get the result in Asia, but they owe an absolute, everything to Eugene Galekovic, one of the most outstanding performances we've seen.
How good was this save?
This save, this is one of those moments that you just can watch, and you're waiting for the replays just over and over just to see how he firstly got his hand to it, and secondly pushed it around the post.
How good was it? How highly do you rate it?
It's that is a world-class save. That's a world-class save. It's something that you'd see in a World Cup. This one is not far behind.
The other one was
under
off
pressure.
the
It was behind him. It was already what you would say already in the net almost, and he's pulled it out. So, but for Adelaide, what a fantastic run that they're having, considering their season in the A-League. They certainly are accustomed to Asian football, and they're doing very well once again.
Yeah, again, I loved it when Sergio Van Dijk came on, and I don't understand why he doesn't play more regularly, because I think that combination between him and, there's this school of thought somehow that him and Bruce Chite can't play together, and I don't think I agree with that. I think they're both quite intelligent players, and they can work out how to complement and play together off each other. So, I think when he came on, he really did give them something a bit extra in attack, which they didn't have before that.
Okay, the draw still to come. What do you think as far as you know, an East Asian nation or a nation from, just looking at Al Ahly, there's about 4 or 5 from the Gulf region, Bunyad Khor's in there, Guangzhou, Ulsan Hyundai. So with the draw to come out later this month, where do you think Adelaide's best placed?
Yeah, well, they've played a couple of Japanese sides, and you think the Japanese are would be the hardest to get results against. So for them, I think it's, you know, I don't think they'll be fearing anyone, that's for sure. In their run now, they've a lot of confidence. They've reverted to this 4-5-1 formation, playing on the counter-attack. They've been doing it very well. So certainly from a confidence point of view, I don't think they'll be worrying who they come up against. So they've played some tough teams. This was a tough game, and a very positive one for them. So I don't think they'll be worrying too much anyway.
They seem, Foz, to have a cast iron structure and system that's successful. It's a reliable system in Asian football.
Well, I think you've got to give some credit also to Luciano Tranni down there. You know, he's been, I think, heavily involved throughout this whole process. And what they have done very well, you know, they really worked very hard the other night. I liked Fife. The performance he had in the centre of midfield, I thought he really played well the other night. In fact, he surprised me with his passing.
He's played there before, and he quite likes playing there.
He has the qualities to be there. So that was a good selection. It was a good choice, and also they've set themselves up very well on the counter attack. Dario, until he sort of re-injured himself, was absolutely stunning. Ian Ramsey, of course, gives them, just gets it and just goes, so sort of relieves a bit of the pressure.
And Bruce, the thing with him is, although he's big forward, he's versatile, but he also gives you mobility. And if you've got somebody who works as hard as he does, that mobility, with the combination of Van Dijk, I think that they would work really well together. They just got, because I think they're intelligent enough to know to play to each other's strengths.
And just a quick word on the futsal Roos, who last week qualified for the World Cup, and they were playing in the AFC Championships. The Aussies progressed from a group including Asian heavyweights Iran, and then they defeated Kuwait after extra time in the quarterfinal to qualify for the World Cup finals. And you can follow the futsal rules progress here on SBS. Of course, we'll take you to Thailand for the finals in November. Fantastic platform for skillful football, and it's you know, all the big nations in the world have very, very progressive futsal programs.
Absolutely. You only got to go to Spain. I mean, everyone knows Brazil, of course, but Spain have become multiple world champions through that as well. A lot of their kids play. It's a sport here that still hasn't got the impetus along with other parts of the game. It's clearly been, I guess, a prioritisation, but you know, it's time that we started to really focus on it, and it's fabulous news that they got through. Really good for the sport.
Fran, thanks for your input on the Socceroos, and we'll catch you soon.
Thanks very much, Bash.
Francis Waratifi there. In just a moment, Mariana will be back with some opinion from the fans, but first to the capital, where for 31 years the Australian Institute of Sport has provided a crucial pathway for our best young footballers. In a fresh new dawn for the program, head coach Tony Vidmar will oversee a new structure after a troubled few years in Canberra. Mark Viduka, Ned Zelic, Craig Moore, John Aloisi and Frank Farina have all come through the Australian Institute of Sport football system. But in recent times, the relevance of the program has come under scrutiny due to a changing structure in Australia's youth development and disciplinary problems by some of the scholarship holders. The squad members have now moved from being on-campus AIS footballers to athletes who live off-campus with Canberra-based families.
The stuff sort of happened because of boredom, because we didn't have much to do. Here we've always got something to do, we've always got someone to talk to, and I reckon all of the behaviour has improved a lot. We haven't had any problems since we've moved into the homestay.
Andrew Moss, Brenda Banning and their young son Reed have taken promising young goalkeeper Jordan Thurtell into their home, and the benefits have flowed both ways.
Got to get you on the Chelsea bandwagon.
Yeah, sounds like the whole AIS is on the Chelsea bandwagon.
It'd be a dream if I could sign for them one day.
Peter Cech's going to retire at some point. He's going to need a replacement, so, you know, you're a shoo-in.
Yeah, if only it was that easy.
I think it gives the kids a balanced family life, even though it's not their immediate family, but it gives them that structure and discipline to do the right things off the field, because if they do the right things off the field, then I think they don't have to think too much about it when it comes on the field.
Got 12 out of 15